say this nonchalantly, without any emotion into it. But I have to keep the reactions down because of my neighbors. It is a somber Tuesday night, the 24th of May, 2022. Tuesday, 9:50 at night. Once more, despite how many times there's been pleadings left and right regarding mental health, regarding mental illness, striking again at people left and right, and they don't even realize it. They don't even understand it. They should have been caught. They should have been caught, but it wasn't. Until it gets sensationalized in the news, where everybody starts talking about it. But it should have been caught a while ago, and it should have not have been. So how does an 18-year-old student at a high school in Uvalde, Texas, how does he break down? What happened with this kid to make him kill his grandparent, who was probably his only legal guardian at the time, and to take whatever kind of instituted wrath and rage of some sort in his head, some screwed up idea, that mass murdering kids and teachers. There's a death toll of 21 on this action alone. And part of that is also the killer himself. I don't know if it was by suicide by cop or by him. But he made the decision of going on to a campus and just killing kids for the fun of it. Of course, we get the usual responses from people saying prayers and prayers and prayers. Prayers don't change shit. They don't bring back the dead. They don't bring back the logic and reason, if there was any, what was going on inside of this insane mind. It is not sanity and it's not rational to take a weapon to kill people with. Unless, of course, you've already flipped and decided that it's the only way to deal with people is by going out there and murdering. The investigations are preliminary right now. Nobody knows why. It doesn't matter how many times I keep trying to say it. It's got to be demonstrated time and time again with our own brains popping and the decisions made and the final actions take out lives. That's what I'm afraid of. There's the revised discussions, but it's the same ones that never get solved because of politics, favoritism, conservatism, whatever bullshit they use. This was done in a state where they worshipped the gun. Everyone must have a gun. Well, everyone must have a gun, because you'll never know if you might need it to kill people for the fun of it. And if that isn't a way of demonstrating why guns are dangerous. At one time in our country that we needed the protection of the weapon because of our fears, our phobias, and also the expansion. The gun was the tool that made our country expand. It wasn't diplomacy, it wasn't the power of the pen, it was the power of the musket ball, and it was the power of the bullet. We have gotten so much used to the romanticized eras with weapons, and we cannot see ourselves without a gun because of the romance of it. We call it the power of protection. We're sick in the head. We use any other kind of tool necessary to complete our insanity. By eliminating those who are not like us, we must kill. Somehow this idea floats in the brains of those willing enough to be caught up by the madness, by the insanity of it all. We call it sane. We call it protection. We call it whatever we will. We must protect this. We must protect that. We must protect skin color. We must protect an ideology. We must protect ourselves every which way, shape, or form, because we cannot be countered or countermanded. It seems we must hold true to the insanity of it all. And apparently we're not done yet with the bloodshed. There has to be more bloodshed to satisfy a thirsty, maniacal deity that craves more blood sacrifice. And we pagan fools are still worshiping it. And we don't even realize it. While it laughs its skanky ass at us. Because we were dumb enough to follow it. We love the gun so much. We have this incessant need to use a steel pipe that launches out projectiles that causes bodily injuries. We call it protection, my ass. There's no protection. It's only wholesale slaughter. But we're not done yet with it, are we? We must have our political speeches. We must have our prayer rallies. We must have the hypocrites coming out trying to support and then suppress. We must have it as usual. Uvalde is just another pin on the map of how many deaths, of how many slaughters, of how many murders, because we must love our guns. We call for protection. That's why we need them. Who the hell are we protecting them from? Ourselves, our own damn dark needs? It's becoming practice now that the ones who are popping off and murdering others, we dare not mention their names because we cannot. We cannot deitize these people. We cannot give credit to the murders done, to the pawns that are constantly used, the pawns that are constantly searching for the next victim. But we say mental health doesn't exist. Mental illness is a fallacy. It has to be something else. A world leader in another country is throwing away every preconceptions we have concerning about sanity, because his will is being done in the name of his own sanity, and he thinks he's the hero and tries to convince others that he is right, that he's causing more trouble and more lives being lost, his name being sullied, and he doesn't care. He's locked into it, just like everyone else who cradles that weapon. A town may come together and pray, but they should have been asking themselves why. Why did they pick up that on this guy? You know, it burns my keister sometimes, and not because the neighbors are around doing what they do. Is people never understanding how dangerous and elusive mental health and mental illness is. All in the same. It deals with the sickness of the mind, of whatever traumas we've had and experienced in our lifetimes, whatever set us apart from each other. Whatever kind of incident happened, there's usually something of a trigger that starts off the process and continues it to its fruition. In this case, we must have a death toll. You know what drives me crazy also? Hollywood and its theatrics. Because of more and more of the shootings we've had over the past several decades. It's gotten worse. People are trying to make more and more dramatic works of fiction regarding this. How heroic the people inside, the victims, will be, and also the police officers or law enforcement going after the bad guys who are the ones holding hostages or trying to shoot up people. And we must show this. Hollywood has a way of pulling back on some of those shows, especially when we have incidents happening on the times that are occurring. So now replacements are sent out because we don't want to show how fiction matches reality. Because we might disturb the public. If they're not disturbed enough as it is, bringing national attention to mental health again, we start up the conversations and then it gets killed off again. Let's face it, we're one screwed up country. Well, one screwed up race of people, which is the human race. The animal kingdom doesn't do this. We haven't seen anything like it in the animal kingdom. Not that us dumbass humans have figured this shit out. They've got their own pecking order and their own little worlds. But we, who are supposed to be intelligent, we show signs of the intelligence all over the place over the past 100,000 years. Sometimes I wondered why we were born in the first place. Why we evolved as we had. If this is what evolution is, we're devolving. I do not understand why. And every time there is a shooting, a mass shooting, if the culprit has been caught, it's never known whether or not if this guy was usually a man. What was going on through their heads? Ideology, for one. When someone crosses the waters and goes to a church of a different country or culture, and decides to shoot people. In one instance, the guy has been caught and taken for justice. And he considers himself a patriot. Ideology, ego. But when we're dealing with an 18-year-old or dealing with a kid younger than that, who takes a gun out of his parents' possessions or takes it from somewhere else, either crosses city lines or county or state lines, and uses it. One kid turns ego into profit for himself by murdering and then getting away scot-free because the justice system couldn't prosecute him on it. On what the people wanted to be prosecuted, but the law said otherwise. So now he's the culture boy for the guns, for the murder, for his own attitude and ego. But we're not supposed to glamorize him, are we? And yet here he is glamorized by extremists. Meanwhile, a tragedy in Uvalde, Texas. They'll get buried alive and forgotten for a while till the next mass murder comes. And the cycle continues because we have no way of controlling ourselves, our actions, and our thoughts. We keep popping off. We keep popping others.